am A.M. Snyder from SnyderSunshineArtStudio.com, and I am here to shine some creativity into your art adventure. Now, I believe that you're here because you want to draw a beetle bug. Now, I have a whole series on how to draw different bugs. There are several videos here on this platform, as well as a course called How to Draw Fun Bugs Step by Step. It is currently posted on my website, so please visit SnyderSunshineArtStudio.com if you are interested in additional videos on how to draw, especially bugs. Now, A.M. Snyder's not a big fan of bugs, but they are fun, and so this series is all about drawing them in a fun way. So our first one, as mentioned, is this parent beetle, and it's baby beetle. And in the video, I'll talk about how I use color, how we draw it to fit in the space, and proportion, its head in relationship to everything else. It is very fun to draw and come up with a story about how the two are interacting. Originally, I had produced this picture to go along with my course, but after I drew it, I thought it looks like there's too much information going on here of two different beetles, and I just feel as though it should be its own video, and here it is for you. I hope that you enjoy. Right. Hello there, it's A.M. Snyder from SnyderSunshineArtStudio.com, coming to you with another video, and this one is about how to draw this beetle bug, and this little one right there. Now, when I drew this, I was thinking about how tired I can become as a mom, constantly taking care of my own children, and so that is why this beetle bug looks kind of tired and sad. But I think that we're going to alter it as we draw, and I'm going to explain how we are going to use our lines to make the shapes, and then we can add some color. We're also going to look at size relationships so that we can fit our beetle bug on the page and actually fill the space. Okay, with that knowledge, let's get started. I have my sheet of paper, and I'm going to put the torn edge at the bottom. I tend to use a half sheet of paper often for my videos. It saves paper, and I like to tear it because it makes it look fun. I have some background in printmaking, and there's a tendency to tear paper in printmaking, and that is why I tear the paper. It just looks artistic too. So now that we have that knowledge about A.M. Snyder from Snyder Sunshine Art Studio, we will get started. We're going to start with its head, the main beetle's head in the center, off the center, excuse me. So this is the center, and I'm going to move over. Okay, center, moving over. Notice I'm using my two fingers. This is going to be its head. So now I have the paper divided into thirds as well. So this is 1/3, this is 1/3, this is 1/3. And I'm going to draw around my fingers to make a curve. Backwards letter C, backwards letter C. Using a pencil, trying to draw lightly, knowing that having an eraser nearby is always helpful, especially a white one. It's a little cleaner. I was erasing now, little bits on it hanging out there. Okay, and then we're going to complete the circle here. And now we have its head. Alright, now we're going to make its body, and I'm going to use my hand, not my fingers, my hand, by creating this curving line within my cupped hand. I'm also going to find the center of its head right there, because that's going to guide me. Okay, and explain this again. This is the division. It helps me with what's called proportion, finding the right place for how things align related to the one thing, its face. So then I can make sure the body parts align well, so it looks more realistic or correct. So now I'm going to find the middle this way, because between these 2 points, that's another mark I need. Okay, so I'm going to put my thumb in this direction and my fingers over there. So I have this mark, And I'm going to draw starting there and then against my fingers and my hand and coming around. That's going to give me the size I need and the location of where that curvy line starts. Now, A.M. Snyder tends to have a lot of extra lines. I'm never worried about that. So I'm hoping that you will start to understand having extra lines is not a problem. In actuality, sometimes these lines lend themselves to parts of the drawing I wouldn't have thought to do. They look like things, and then I include them when I was going to erase them. It's kind of the way artists think. We just have that in our minds that way. I'm sure I am speaking for many artists in that manner. So I have these guiding lines which help me because now I can divide this space to find its mouth. Right there. And I'm going to bring around this curved line in a deeper manner so I know I want to keep that. Now I did say I want to make this beetle look a little more cheerful. So now that I have this straight horizontal line, I'm actually going to alter it. I think I'm going to come up a little higher. A lot of division here, thinking about math here, taking a whole and dividing it in half. Okay, and I'm going to curve these down. That's going to look a little more cheerful, yes. Okay, and then we have some fun little teeth happening in here. And its eyes. So I'm going to bring back the original drawing that I produced. It has oval eyes here. You can draw whatever eyes you want. I actually am going to draw some curving lines for the base. Notice I'm using the center line right there to guide me. And then I use curvy line this way to develop its eyes. And it's going to be looking down at this little one. And I'm actually going to give it some little eyelashes going that way. Maybe a little tiny nose because this is not a real bug. It's more cartoony. Alright, now its wings. I'm going to bring a line alongside its body here so its wing, notice it's narrow and it gets wider over here. This way its wing is popped off its body. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this curved line and I'm going to try to duplicate it over here. Okay, so I'm copying that line. Now remember how I divided this space? I'm going to divide this space right there. And I'm going to bring its wing right in there. Okay. And then I'm going to have its other wing come out. And this line here, the one between the center and its chin, is going to guide this wing. There we are. And now I am going to give it some antennae because I really want to see that. It seems to make it more like a bug. I use some curved lines here. There's going to be a lot of overlapping with lots of extra lines, so be prepared. And then we're going to make these little sections, and they're going to get narrow, little jointed sections. Okay. And then I'm going to actually add a little bit to its belly here because I took some of that from the wing. And we can simply draw out some jointed pieces here. There we are. And then we can do what we do with the antennae and bring its legs into place. So, nice thing about watching a video as somebody's drawing is you can always pause the video, you can rewind the video, so if you miss something, you can always go back and review it. That's really helpful. Now I put this little mark here for a leg. thinking it's going to correspond with that one. So I want this other one to show up over here. I know it looks like things are coming off its face, but that's just how its body is being arranged. Okay, now that we have that, we are going to draw the head of the little one here. Now, if you're like, how big do I make that? Well, you can always put your finger here, and you can always draw it like that. And that will give you a rough idea how big, to make sure that it fits in the space. Okay, and again, I'm going to turn the paper to help me here. Put my finger this way, and I can draw around it, and that will give me the bug's body, the baby bug, and the baby bug. Alright, let's make the baby bug. Now I'll just tell you, and I probably said this in other videos when I've drawn bugs, I don't like bugs. But these little cartoony ones are fun because they're actually my creation, and I know they're not going to hurt me because they're not real. They are not real, so I don't need to be worried about them hurting me. And it's interesting because most bugs are rather small, but they can cause so much damage. It's really strange. I've heard of spiders that if they bite you, it's like acid on your skin, eat your skin away. And mosquitoes bite you and you have an itch. And it just, ticks, oh my, ticks are scary, aren't they? So these little creatures just cause all kinds of havoc for us humans. Alright, so now this is the center of the flower, a whole bunch of little circles. I could keep going with my pencil on that, but I am so secure in my drawing abilities to draw circles, I'm not going to do that because I'm going to use a Sharpie and I'm going to trace. And then we have the petal to the flower, and I'm going to have that extend behind our parent beetle here and make a little wavy line. And then I'm going to have this petal over here. Okay, and then we're going to add this petal. Alright. Alright, so now I'm going to get my Sharpie. Now, just side note, I've been drawing on this surface with my Sharpie, and I've become rather sad because it's actually coming through the paper onto my surface here. So to protect your surfaces, always have a disposable something. This is a folder. I thought it looked really nice for the background here. So keep those things in mind. And now I'm going to trace over everything I desire to keep. This one looks so much more cheerful than the original one, just by changing certain parts. Now I wonder what kind of story I could come up with. As I said earlier, the other one was, when I was drawing, I was tired. That's probably how my emotion played out into the bug's face. I'll make sure I don't trace any of those guidelines because I don't want those. I think that the parent bug here is concerned because they want to make sure that their baby bug is happy. And the parent bug is listening to find out what the baby bug desires so they can help them to be happy. Listening to people, just listening is important. It's difficult sometimes. We have our own thoughts in our heads while we're listening. We want to respond to them. Or we perceive what they're going to say and we start to formulate our own answer to it. And it's always better to simply stop and listen. And if you do want to say something afterwards, just take the time to formulate it after you hear everything. Now I say that as just a person living life, as a teacher, knowing listening to my students has always been a very important part of my career. And then as a parent, I've gotten older and I'm an older parent, and so working all day listening to people, knowing that it's important to listen, sometimes I fall short of my own children, but I have to keep that in my mind, as I'm sure other parents understand who are working, and hopefully children, you'll understand as well that your parents do want to listen, but there's so many other things that they have responsibilities for that sometimes they're distracted by. But I'm sure if you're patient and you simply remind them that you are important to them and I'd like them to hear you, and you say it nicely, I'm hoping that they will stop what they're doing or their thoughts and give you the full attention. Now that I've shared all that little bit of Miss A.M. Snyder here, just thinking out, I've traced everything. Hopefully you've traced everything. And I am going to add some extra details here with my Sharpie. I just use a little zigzag there and some curvy lines to make the petal look like it has some little extra ribbing or veins. Darken this up so there's a shadowing effect. Separate the antenna from the background. Now I'm doing this as Sharpie, but you can always use your colors, crayons, paint, markers to define that. Color pencils are not A.M. Snyder's favorite thing, so I never usually recommend them. I don't like how they break. I don't like how you have to sharpen them all the time. It just seems like a lot of work. Short, long, just to separate the bug from the little centers of the flower there. I give this what's called a weighted line by thickening it. It separates one petal from the other, also creates that shadowing effect. Okay, now I have these wings here. I already decorated the baby bug's wings there. So I'm going to add some little details to the wings here. Make it look somewhat similar to its baby. And it has a little stripy body in there. Extend that down here. And I think that we are ready for some erasing. I think I'm going to thicken this line up too and curve it just a little more. I'm going to darken that in. And combine it and darken that in. Yeah. Alright, now I as the artist can make choices as I go along, and I want to alter some things. So I'm going to do what's called hatching, where I put a series of lines, and I'm going to cross hatch to make that look like a shadow over there. Then I'm going to thicken this area up to separate its head from its body, and then I'm going to add some of those hatching lines. So the closer they are the darker it looks, I'm just going to color that in. If I separated these, it would look lighter. I like it. Alright, oh, I think I should darken the bottom of these legs. That makes it look more like it has a highlight where the light is hitting the surface. So we have shadows and highlights. Do that with this as well. Alrighty. Alright, I am going to get an eraser and erase all of this. And then I'm going to use a big brush and scoop all the eraser into a pile. Alright, now my big brush. My big brush is actually a drafting brush. I mentioned earlier about being a printmaker at some point. Not professionally. It was college years. So this brush has been with me for, oh my, over 20 years. It has to be over 20 years. 24 years? 25 years. Oh, it's been a long time. Tells you how old A.M. Snyder is. I'll let you put it together. Alright, so I have my pile of eraser marks. And now we're going to color the adorable picture in. But before I do that, I'm looking at this little, well, it looks like a little weird, not so curvy mark there. So I'm just going to round that. And look at it and think, what else do I need to do before I color it? I think that's good. So make sure you double check yours before you color. And I'm going to get my crayons here. They're underneath the shelf. These are it. Okay, so I have Prang. Now, I asked for these for my birthday. Now, I know they're not that expensive. So, I know that my family was like, you're asking for crayons for your birthday? It's because you can't buy these in a store. You have to order them. Crayola seems to, and Rose Art and Crazy Art seem to dominate the shelves at the stores. So I was very curious about the Prang crayons, and that is what I have here. So let's get into coloring this. Of course, I really want to make this flower pink. I just do. It just right away, I want to make it pink. It just seems to call out to me to be pink. Now, you may think it needs to be a different color, and that is totally fine. You can make it whatever color you want. Now, as I'm coloring, I have to turn the paper. So keep that in mind. You turn your paper in whatever direction that you want your coloring marks to go. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm thinking, okay, everything's going this way in the direction of those lines. I used to stress to students to color in a circular motion. And it made sense to me years ago when I first started teaching to stress that. As mentioned, I've been teaching for a while. And over time I realized coloring in a circular motion doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. I think I was trying to get them to stay within the lines and make the coloring look smooth. But over time I realized it doesn't matter. But with that said, you may want to try that method and see how the crayon is applied differently. And I'll do that in a moment here. But as you can see, I was coloring in the direction of the lines for the petals. So now I am going to find a red. Okay, remember I got Prang colors here. So They are a little more waxier, which I did not expect. They're softer than Crayola. Okay, I'm going to compare them to Crayola because I think they're similar to Rose Art, Crazy Art. I think they are. This is just me talking as a person using the colors. I do not have any true research background on crayons. It's just me using them as an artist. So they are definitely waxier because the shavings come off of the crayon more than with the harder Crayola crayons. They're smooth. I do think they're smooth because I think they're softer as an application of the color. I'm going to make this darker underneath the Beetle because the Beetle's body is actually blocking light, so it's causing a shadowing effect there, which I think most of us understand that. And I'm going to shadow in this area here because it's closer to the center of the flower where the petals would be blocking sunlight or whatever light source is available to the scene. And a little bit there. And then I just like to pull it in here and there just to make it cohesive. So it looks like it's all one unified part. Oh, that's pretty. I am finding that to be quite pretty. And you know what? When you're coloring and drawing, you too should make comments about your artwork in a very positive way. Let's see here. It says scarlet red. No, I don't want scarlet red. Let's see. I wanted an orange or a yellow. That's too yellow. All right. I'm going to do the no-no and dump them out. Okay. I've learned that if they're dumped out, it's just easier. We can always clean them up. It's kind of fun to clean them up. Make sure they all sit inside the box in a nice stack and row. So A.M. Snyder here desires to teach in a very relaxed atmosphere. I do enjoy teaching step by step. I enjoy sharing stories. And I'm just hoping that you too will enjoy the format of my teaching and that you'll find it relaxing, not too stressful, and that because it's a recording, you can take your time and you can redo as many times as you want because it's your supplies. So it's up to you how much paper you want to use. I know for myself, and any students that I've taught who might see this will know that A.M. Snyder, known as Mrs. Snyder, of course, in the public school buildings, does not like to give students more than one sheet of paper because it's costly. And, well, school building, we have a budget. But you're watching this and you have control over your own supplies. So, have at it. Always start with a pencil, and using the eraser helps with saving the paper, by the way. You also have the back of the paper. If you draw light, you can erase multiple times. I'm just using regular computer printer paper. It holds up very well, by the way, with the number of erasings I do. I put the darker red in there and a yellow on top of the orange to give it a highlight. And then the shadowing. Okay. So the paper has a tooth to it. It has hills and valleys. So the raised portion of the paper actually picks up the crayon, and then we have these little white speckles. So I'm sure as you've colored in the past, you've noticed that. And so what I've done is I've taken a white and I'm pressing onto the paper, which is flattening those hills or the tooth of the paper down, and it's smoothing out the color. So I hope you can see that. And I'm going to keep doing that with the other one as well. And I'll zoom back out here. There we go. And I'll finish this up. Now I am thinking about the rest of this beetle, and I really think that I want to actually just use black, which is not something I usually do, but it just seems to make sense today. So I'm going to color these in. And I'm going to try to leave a little bit of white on the one side so it has a little bit of a highlight and it's not so flat. And I'm going to do the same with its legs. I know I already used the Sharpie to do that, but to keep it unified with the crayon texture, I'm going to do that as well. Hopefully everybody knows what texture means, how something feels, how it looks like it feels. Thinking about the senses now. We have our sense of sight, we can see our drawing. We also have sense of touch in regard to our paper, as well as our sight to pick up on the texture. We also have our sense of hearing, because I can hear the crayon against the paper making that scuffing sound as it colors. Just interesting to reflect on. Alright, let's color its eyes in. Let's make them green. Green, purple, purple. Make them purple. There we go. Color this guy in. You know what? I'm going to color these green, and then as they get older, they turn black. I think that would be fun. Fun thing to say about my new species of beetle bug. Alright, now I have this sky area here, and I'm just going to do the typical blue. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Our object focuses are the beetles, so just filling this in with blue will not hurt a thing. And as mentioned earlier, I'm going across. Now I said something about coloring in a circular motion. So let me go, I went across, so let me go in a circular motion. See, I think that actually does fill the space in better. It gets rid of the streakiness. So if you don't want the streakiness, a circular motion takes care of that. It's actually creating just a different texture. As the flowers, we have the streakiness, and this is now like a loopy line texture. I like it though. Okay. Well, this is coming to an end rather nicely. And I am for certain that if you follow along, that yours has come to a finish as wonderfully. As always, I'm going to sign my name. I always like to sign it in the lower right corner, but you're welcome to put your name wherever you want. A. M. Snyder. And the year. Alrighty, as always, I've enjoyed sharing with you, and I know without a doubt that I have shined some kind of new information into your world of creativity. This is A.M. Snyder from SnyderSunshineArtStudio.com saying thank you and goodbye.